talk to Dawn? She's going to come in?
Dawn's not coming.
Not coming at all?
No. So we're just, I think, short David.
David then is the only one who leaves.
Yeah. Hey, where are you? All right, bud. He'll be here in a second. He's at the Rotary. Gingy. Gingy, 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 Gingy. Yeah. And I know it was in Phil's head somewhere, and I don't remember what the relevance is.
His mother's name was Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah, and they called her Ginger. Ginny.
I knew a lady named Gingy.
It had to have been Virginia.
From Virginia.
Yeah. Jeez. I stopped asking where these things came from like a long time ago, but there's too many weird
You
ones.
have to be from Virginia to be named Virginia?
My favorite was, if you're anywhere from the New York metropolitan area, do you remember Castro Convertibles?
Yeah.
We had a Castro Convertible LLC that came in here for quite a while back, a long time ago. And every time I saw that name, Castro Convertible, I just remembered the commercials on Channel 5 or Channel 9 in New York or Channel 11 in New York.
Now we have to sit here and wait for. Sorry.
Hurry up and wait there.
Always.
We've got all the time in the world.
Melissa, is Joe coming for Middle C?
I assume so, because I had not thought he'd stay for that, so I thought he was going to be here for that.
Well, if he doesn't, you need to stay. Because we had issues with it the other night because we had no representative, sort of.
Was you have new information on that? Or?
I have no clue what's happened between that day. Joe seemed to understand what it is we needed.
I think he was surprised to see it on the agenda, because I don't thought he had dropped some information ahead of time.
All right, let me find out. Okay, you this?
I've done that. Yeah, I get that. You know, it hits my scalp, and I go, "Something's not right."
Some of us don't.
Now these damn self-locking doors. Sometimes I've had to go downstairs and have them let me in.
Melissa, can you text him? I can't get him on the phone. Find out if he's coming for this or what he wants us to do with it so we don't do something when we get there.
I'm not sure there's new information.
Well, we just need to know that and we'll just put it over.
Oh yeah, not too bad. Mr. McLaughlin, how are you?
All right, TV, you can go on now.
You're
TV.
not doing too bad. You got more hair than I got. So
Are you ready?
All right, we're done talking about our follically challenged heads, okay?
No kidding.
All right, we're going to open the meeting at 1:04 on Thursday, January 16th, a continuation of Tuesday, January 14th meeting. President John McLaughlin, Abby Camp, David Harm, Linda Williams. This is all that's going to be here today. And we are taping, got an audio and visual tape, videotape. If anybody else wants to tape it, just let me know.
Thanks.
Anybody want to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
David's made a motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any public comment? Okay. Consent, none. 60-day denials. He's on the way in to fill out the form from Wisconsin. Well, consent NA, but 60-day denial, we'll pass over it for now.
I just want to remind you, if that's not resolved by the time you get out of this meeting, then you need to resolve that.
Do it, yeah. He's on his way in from White's Hollow.
Yeah, well,
Okay, but he said that before. 22 Federal Street, Roland and Roland and Roland. Representing,
this is Brenda, Baker, and
no John.
John.
And John. No. Okay.
Yes, John.
Okay, John. Representing the applicant.
Nikki Rowland.
Melissa Philbrook?
Okay, what previous concerns?
previous concerns. Flush corners, the gable go down, and the roof go up, change the one-story element. Design approval
What?
as is, no comment. Concern that it's going to have a little increase to say. Federal Street should be on the top, then not adding any windows. A similar comment to the commissioner, the bang dormer is up, or drop the eaves where you need to get a second floor, or pull the eaves down, so you bring the dormer down. Most of the whole floor.
I'm sorry, am I sitting on this?
Yeah,
Okay.
you've only seen it once, right? You took a view.
David was not.
I don't think David was here that time.
David is not.
I'll take it, Linda.
Yeah, because you were not here that first time.
Yeah.
Okay, but David was red just now. All righty, so, what'd you do? What'd you
We
do?
raised, instead of this flush dormers, we just raised the plate to get a two-story addition on that side.
Okay. Cool.
We've also submitted kind of a redraw because we have more accurate drawings, so there's some minor changes. You'll see now the window casings are drawn more accurately to show the way they really are. We didn't have that information before.
There's a question about the trim on the pediment or whatever you talk
Right.
about. top of the window.
Thank you. John?
A little confusion with this is west elevation, right? All three of these?
One is the as-built, the other is the
Yeah, but what's the all thing?
Go over them.
pretty similar. Yeah.
This is gone.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
existing.
Any concerns, John? Abby?
On the east and west, on the top of the second floor, where the window goes into the fascia, is that supposed to be below the fascia, or is it supposed to be, is that all right?
What you see drawn is what they're doing.
All right, I'm just wondering if it shouldn't, I know it lines up with the other windows, it's just wondering, shouldn't it be below that fascia strip?
We've done it, there's a lot of buildings in town that have that detail.
Okay,
Maybe
I
we
just
can
did.
probably speak to that better now.
It's not below the fascia. It's flush with the
Flush.
frieze. The
Yeah.
fascia is above it.
Yeah.
So it's part of the frieze, the top of that window?
Yeah, more or less. The frieze will die into the side of the
And
case.
that's an historic,
I've seen it.
Yeah.
David probably disagrees, but I have seen it, because I've called it out every time I've seen it. And he said, oh, no, that's what it is now. David?
Are you voting my comment as a member of the public?
Yes. Can go over there.
If we're talking about the west side,
East and west.
Same condition.
yeah,
I want those windows the same height as the existing windows.
yeah, I love it, at the same height.
But I have seen that before. It's one of those oddities.
I'm trying to keep the plate as low as I can, yet maintain the window uniformity throughout.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
that's,
What's curious to me is that there's more frieze on the L addition than you see on the main building.
They simplify
And
it.
usually it's a more formal treatment on the main building than on the L. So I would be inclined to simply delete it. What I thought Abby was referring to at first was the window in the gable facing west, where the roof, the window hood is actually into the rake board. And
I've seen that a lot.
it's the only, there are two other windows in gables, and neither of the other two are into the rake board. So I think it would make more sense just to drop the window 2 inches so that from the outside it seems to be the same, rather than insist on having a common rough opening height. for that.
That's an easy one to fix.
Yeah,
It's in a stairwell, it's not really in the middle of the
So
room.
the suggestion by a member of the public would be to get rid of that trim?
Yes,
Can
that
I-
was my
Can
suggestion.
I comment on that?
Yeah.
I don't want to totally eliminate the frieze, because the shingles need to die into
Right.
something. So
And
I'd
I
like
don't
to
have a
maybe
problem
just
with this.
make it a narrower band instead of the width that
It could be the height of the molding that you've got at the top of your window.
right, and that's fine. I don't want to
Give you
lose it
something
entirely.
to go into.
So what would
Yeah.
that narrower freeze board on the addition?
Right, narrower frieze.
Okay. Abby, you want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve with the detailed.
Abby's made a motion to approve with the narrower freeze board on the addition and the west gable window to drop 2 inches to get the frame, the trim out of the,
I have one question I just caught. The west elevation, there's no cable dormer.
Sorry.
yeah.
You've got three here. Certain, but there's none up here.
That's the rake.
You mean
Oh, there's supposed to be a cable dormer there?
like a vent?
Like,
Yeah.
it's not there. I don't know.
I don't know.
Leave it. Abby's made a motion. Abby's made a motion to approve through staff with the west gable window, drop 2 inches to get the trim out of the rake, and a narrower freeze board on the addition. All those in favor?
Aye.
John? Okay, all right, great job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Good job.
Never know.
You never know. Never know.
Linda, Abby,
Who else is on this? The other,
Dawn.
the other three?
John, and Jason.
John's on it. No? He might have come in after that one. So John's not on this?
Do we have enough?
No.
About four?
Huh?
About 4 Wednesday?
You're not on this,
thought he
apparently.
was.
I thought he was on it.
Well, there are two different ones. This is the one that faces Vestal Street. And the other one was the one that faced Wynn Street. And both of them were basically, they were colonials and now they're not.
And John, I know David knows down, but John's not on it? Okay. I guess we don't have a quorum.
Is Dawn
No.
how about Jason?
This is all we got.
Okay.
Which one is this? Make sure we got.
35-2.
But this is on-
Go look.
yeah.
Make sure he's got the right one.
I'm sure.
Because there's 2 of them.
But this one, I have best. But that's who I have the minutes for. So.
No, that'll go to Tuesday. No quorum, John.
Kind of like shuffle.
Quorum for Tuesday.
Shuffleboard. One came out late. Yeah, that's the same thing.
Congdon.
Me? C-A-I-I-E. Like the scary movie, come on, I know.
I just want to make sure if
Don't
it's
you
some
think about it?
A-A-R-I or
No, there's so many, I know.
That's how I always spell it. Representing the applicant,
Carrie Thornwell and Sam Aloisi.
do you need him to spell that, Terry?
Last time I was here,
Wait, we got to figure out who's sitting.
To everybody,
it's all of you.
would you like to hear the previous concern?
Yep.
Do not feel it is an appropriate design in that landscape, softbox restrictions are not bushes, form, raised deck of the front door is poorly proportioned. Back one windows are oversized, double French doors over the second floor. Overwhelming front door. Front door looks like it is in utility space with no windows. Elevation table housing with triple windows oversized. The ridge goes up to the top of the salt box form. The combo of type 1 and type 3 are mismatched. Dorm on the top deck and the east are okay. So the windows should run vertically. It's okay with the salt box style. The construction stands out in the middle of the lowland. The second floor deck is unnecessary. The windows are too large for the walls. Front door needs windows. The new house should reflect some of the wonderful architecture that exists on Tuckernuck. Visibility of the ceiling from around has 800 feet from the water in an area of U.S. House stated all that should be taken into consideration.
Looks just like grass.
I need to apologize for some of the backwards writing. That's just one of my many talents. On the couple of elevations, there's some backwards writing.
How does that happen?
I was writing on the back of the sheet, so then I could get rid of it easily if I needed to. So I apologize for that. But I brought Sam. He also is working for our client. He has actually been to Tuckernuck and is familiar with the site. What I've done to show you some of the architecture that's there is I made some copies of the 3 buildings that are in that area of Tuckernuck, so you can just take a look to see what kind of context we're talking about.
Not old build.
These are the 3 houses in the neighborhood. Yeah, there's McGrath, Souza, and Defoe something.
Yeah.
Defoe.
The Newfield.
The Newfield.
Because Mark caretaker.
Right. If you could pass those down when you're done, Linda, that'd be great.
Yeah, these are the ones I was trying to explain to you right next door, right next to the airstrip. Though these lots are humongous because they are just humongous in that section.
Right.
This is not the old Tuckernuck section. This is the new Tuckernuck section when they put the piers in.
Right, but we did do some things to mitigate a little bit of the oddness. The salt box was odd. The big dormer on the salt box was odd. So we eliminated the salt box altogether and added some single-story shed massing on the first floor, and then raised the dormer to be just a flush wall. And we changed the front door location because one of the major issues was the weird front door under the big deck. There are big decks out there already, so I switched the front door to the other side and was able to reconfigure the interiors to work, thankfully.
6 over 6.
Huh?
6 over 6 is not.
Yeah. And essentially that's it. I added a little porch, so the front door was under a little porch. There's lots of roofs on the first floor, and it's pretty simple still.
Okay. You want to add anything to this now?
Not at the moment, thank you.
John?
My other comment is the deck itself is 10 feet. 8 feet is minimum.
Maximum.
Does that matter out there in the middle of 800 feet from the water?
So it can be seen, viewable. I just have going making a statement, policy.
Abby?
I think I don't think gang windows, I don't think Tuckernuck is a good place for gang windows, or I agree with John about the over second floor balcony over the 4 posts, I think is excessive, even though there are other houses that have it. I think it could be more Tuckernuckish if there were no gang windows and less smaller balconies.
No, John wasn't talking about the width. He was only talking about the fact that it's 10 feet out instead of 8 feet out. Did you look at the other houses right next to it?
I know. I said, I think, regardless of what's already been built there, because I think the things that are already there are not that attractive, and they're not very Tuckernuck in the first place. My family comes from Tuckernuck from a long time, so I've been going out there all my life. And it just seems a little more suburban looking than Tuckernuck, or some of the older homes on Tuckernuck. Doesn't have that quaintness.
Okay, this is where it is, and it's also 800 feet from the nearest viewable spot, but we have to decide to.
No, then you
David?
seem to be arguing with every commissioner
Well-
as they make their comments. I think, can we wait for your comments at the end?
Yeah, I'm just trying to
I
explain
just
the
find it
context.
very argumentative, and you seem to be slapping down everybody who doesn't appear to be with.
They don't have,
agreeing with
nobody
what's
has to
gonna be
agree
your
with me,
opinion.
but I'm just saying, you've got to understand what our jurisdictional issues are.
I think we do all understand what our jurisdiction is at this table. I don't find you being respectful to your fellow commissioners.
Well, it's your turn.
Thank you. To cite the examples that have been handed around, the windows, even on the two-story house, are much smaller than these type 1 windows that are being shown here. And so I think they ought to be reduced in size significantly. Part of the problem with this house is its height, but part of the problem is its massing, which is very sort of suburban massing. I think there's some simple things that might be done that wouldn't change much, that would help it. Certainly eliminating the salt box has helped. I think that on the south elevation, it would frankly help take the centered porch and move it left so that it's in front of the living room. And it's not centered on that elevation. I think that the doors going onto the porch ought to be a single door. I want to point out there's no loss of view because the door is directly across from a staircase. And that's not where your significant view is. On the north elevation, I find that the massing there seems particularly
Sorry, which elevation are you talking about?
north elevation.
North.
Really looks like 20th century subdivision architecture. But if what you did was slide the gable over to the right, put the kitchen behind the living room, I think it would not feel. I think it would feel more like a house that had additive massing. When you've got this kind of cross gable with the ridges all at the same height and the gable centered, this is not a formal house in a formal setting. I think it recalls a simpler kind of vernacular and does well by you. And so if something like that could be looked into, I think it gives you much of what you had before, but it puts this closer to a Tucker Nantucket. Thank you. And I agree with the comments about the footprints.
I think if we go to one of the old Tuckernuck houses, which are north of this and west of this, it's going to look bizarre with the 4 lined up that have no relationship to each other. Most of these guys, including on the airstrip, have a relationship to each other. And then you got a 1-story house with a roof walk. I don't know how that got there.
I don't know how that got there either, but
But I remember
think
when
the
Denise
1-story
got
house, I have to say, on the whole, is far more successful and feels far more appropriate to that
We're
landscape.
ganging-
It's close to the water, though.
closer to the
These
water,
are
that's
set
why I
back.
thought.
They want to be higher. They want to get a view.
And this has got ganged all over the place.
Well, one at a time, please, I have enough trouble trying to...
Yeah, it's I've got the floor now. So I don't agree with a lot of what's been said because of the context, and I've been over there, oh no. And I know I've been to actually 2 out of the 3 houses that are there. So I guess there's some simple things we can do with massing, that moving the gable, that's probably going to improve it if the gable moves over.
Does it work with the layout, the floor plan?
I can work it. The entry is going to be funky.
I don't think,
I don't care where your entry is, frankly.
Yeah, no. I mean, I can work it. I'm just wondering what our client will.
I don't think Mr. Coggan's going to care so much about moving the gable to get that L shape. I think it's going to be hard to explain to him, to Linda's point, that the other houses look just like it. In fact, there's a junkyard right to the north. He's not overly picky. He does want an upside-down house with some decent views and a deck. And beyond that, he's willing to work, I believe, with the board. But
We can do a little reduction of windows. We can
yeah,
do
I think he'd be
8-foot
open to that.
deck.
See what you can come up with.
Yeah. Just we don't want to spend too much
No, I know
money
you don't.
doing it.
I do agree with Joan's comment about the 10 feet being too much. I think it's a standard we're trying to hold to the 8-foot projections.
So we can do some things.
motion to hold for revisions.
David's made a motion to hold for revisions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next week, old business?
So just an update that 21 through 26, there's no new information, so they have to hold it.
Okay. Okay, we want to make a motion to put 21 through 26, hold for revisions, continue to hold for revisions.
So moved.
David's made a motion, John, to hold 21 through 26 for revisions. They didn't submit them yet. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. John Newman, is Peter here? No.
You want it or not?
Hold on a second. Go ahead and throw the next one out, Fogarty. Matt? Are you coming for Newman?
I gotta go, I'm just about to walk to the table.
Right now, we start at 1 on Thursdays. We don't go at night on Thursdays. All right, fine. He's coming. He thought, some people still think the meeting starts at 5 on Thursday.
How are you?
This is Linda, John, and David.
Linda, John, and David. No Abby?
Correct.
Okay. Where are we? Over here?
Concerns. That kind of not working, windows not working. And not working.
That's, I would disregard the landscape. Actually, they're, I'll let
Height 28.5 feet, northern median table, same as previously submitted. Like the west view salt box profile, and even those how they hung all forward.
Should I go, Madam Chairwoman?
Go.
Sure. So we made a number of changes. We dropped that secondary mast plate height by 6 inches. We actually reduced the width of it by about 18 inches to 24 inches. So if you look at the previous north elevation, yeah, we squeezed it down. One suggestion I have regarding that, which I think might be a bit more successful, was to actually reduce the width of the shed dormer and actually mull those units above. And actually, we have a drawing of it in the office. It actually works out pretty well. We could also reduce that. I think the bump out actually helps. But anyways, we could also take a foot of length off that secondary mast if you felt that that was more successful.
By the secondary mast, do you mean the first floor of bump out?
This one?
No, actually, the overall
David,
width
go
of that
this way.
secondary piece, the whole kind of wing, if you will, David.
Okay, yeah,
We could
yeah.
take a foot off that, and then I also think we could reduce the width of that shed dormer. And when you mull those units together, there's a really strong relationship to the windows below, because we reconfigured the bathroom accordingly.
Yeah, I'm not
We
happy with that.
we unganged the windows in the kitchen, pulled them apart a little bit more as requested. We changed the massing. David, we try to keep that broken back, salt box. It just didn't really fly, so we broke it. I think it works pretty successfully. The thing that on the west elevation window,
This piece?
yeah, this previously was a salt box. Now, the resulting piece of that was that on the back gable on the south elevation, if you look to the next page there, is that we still have that transom dormer there. I could make that a flush. We could put a full-size window in there and adjust the pitch of that bump out.
Are you talking about this?
Yeah, you guys didn't really love that dormer, but anyways, there was a continuous roof line. All the other changes, try to simplify fenestration. We obviously went to 6/6s reluctantly. The owner really wanted the 2/2s, but you guys wanted 6/6s, so. And I also, just while we're looking at it, just your opinion, is the French doors, the glass size, I was thinking about going to an 8 light unit,
They need to be 15 light units, they'd be
Right.
like the 6 over 60 since you went to that.
Okay. The 8 light will give you the proportional glass. It just seems like a little, the glass I seem small.
But it's 18 lights aren't working, that's for sure. That's what they were.
Put a 15 light, yeah, you're right. Okay.
15 light would be fine.
Yeah, you're right. Trim is gray, sash is gray.
And you got cottage corners.
I actually have corner boards, but if you felt that cottage corners would be more appropriate,
Well, figure that out, because you're showing no
Yeah,
corner
that's
boards on half of it and corner boards on the rest of it. So either you want corner boards or you don't.
where do you see cottage corners?
Right there, right there.
Yeah, it should be all corner boards. I'm sorry, that's a draft.
David?
I think most of these changes are really good. I think the change to the broken back and the change to the shed dormer, the unganging of the kitchen, very successful, and it's becoming in many ways a really attractive house. The one thing I don't think is up to the standard of the rest of it is the north elevation right side. That bump out at the ground floor that's housing the tub seems too tall and narrow, and the dormer above it does seem too wide. I think making that wing come out less far would just make that whole wing feel more vertical than it already feels.
Okay.
So I wouldn't do that. I'd leave that alone, but I do think we need to narrow the dormer, and
Get the
I
bump out.
really think that the former layout that just had a pair of windows in the wall with no bump out was more successful.
So get rid of the bump out.
But at that point, I think it's quite a good looking house.
Okay.
John?
I found reading here to the casement windows, as I am on you with that, my opinion. There are 46 windows in the structure, 16 of them are casements. I think that's highly, looking a mix, you know? And there's no drama, they're not typical. And on the north elevation, on the left side, you got a low drama, low in the eaves compared to the 3 windows on the right. I don't know, the floor plan, those windows are about a foot to a foot and a half above the floor.
Can I answer that,
Raise
Madam
the
Chairman?
dormer, do something, maybe you can fit up larger windows, you know, I understand.
Oh,
But, I just say that's only 16 out of 46, that's quite a bit.
Hold on.
right.
Abby?
She won't.
Oh, I'm not on it.
Oh, that's right. I do have some issues with it, not in the massing
Yep.
at this point. Most of it's fenestration problems. They shouldn't be 4 lights. They should be top sash 6 lights.
Gotcha.
None of these C windows are working for me, except up in the gables, and they're almost oversized up in the gables,
Okay.
okay? The front door should be a front door, not
Solid,
another...
no glass.
Well, 2 glasses in the top, I don't care. But it shouldn't be another 4 light, and the 4 light shouldn't be a 4 light, it should be a 9 light or something that more closely matches the windows in the house. I think some of that got carried over to the floor. I agree with David that making that right hand any narrower is going to look really weird. I do agree that making the dormer narrower on the north elevation is a good idea. I'm not in favor of that bump out or ganging those windows on that first floor. I do agree with David, the previous one is much more successful. If you get over to the west elevation, those A windows that are in these little secondary masses are way too big. They should be B windows.
Sorry.
West elevation, right side,
Okay.
the little additions, they shouldn't have A windows in them, they
I
should be all
gotcha,
B
I gotcha,
windows.
I gotcha.
They're way oversized for those little things. And that means that A window on the back, on the in that middle section, as well as the A windows in the bump out. On the south elevation, same problem, you got that A window on the left, you got all those A windows on that little teeny weeny elevation, it should be Bs.
Okay.
They should be 15 light doors. I don't mind
Yeah.
these little dormers. That C window on the right should be top sash. The D windows, especially in the little piece, they're too big. They're just oversized. These D windows in the gables are oversized.
Got it.
East elevation, same problem. You got an A window and it should be a B. You got an A window, it should be a B. See how big the C window looks in that elevation?
If I map to glass size, like the A set, basically, are you opposed to a 4-light as it's
No,
just a
I'm
glass
fine with
size?
the four
Okay.
lights, but they're just oversized. They're going back to when you had like the 2/2s.
Gotcha.
But otherwise on mass, hold on, I have one more issue on the south elevation. If you look at that French door on the right,
Yep.
where this is supposed to have a break, the corner post is running right through the window, right through the door. That door on the right, on the south, needs to move to the right.
Yeah, it might move anyways, to be honest.
Yeah, so that needs to go that way, at least 6 inches to the right. Massing, I don't have too much to say about.
Okay.
I think that mass is working well. Can I comment on the windows?
Yeah.
Because I see why it is you're inclined toward the 6-light, where we've got the 4-light windows.
At least on the first floor.
Okay, but I really like the vertical proportion of those 4 lights. It's very nice. And if you simply take the 6-light out of the windows below and push it up,
Yeah.
suddenly you've got a squat horizontal window there that really is going to not feel as good to you by a long measure. So, I wonder whether or not that's a smart play.
It could be, David, that if the gable windows are made smaller, that I won't be seeing this humongous C window all over the house.
What about a 6-light?
That's what I'm saying. This, David, is vertical.
That's horizontal.
See, that sash is
But I'm saying if you
It
went,
is.
if you went
That's
two wide by 3 tall.
It's really
That's weird.
skinny.
Yeah, I think it's too
I
skinny.
mean, I have to say, you've got nice.
All right, if you're all right with those, then just reducing the size of these other things to smaller 4 lights would probably take the focus for me off of these C windows.
I'll
The
see what it
gable
looks
windows
like.
are all too big.
Well, could we reduce those windows, say by 4 inches width and height, and call it a day and leave them 4-light?
On the gable
In the
arms?
gables?
Yeah.
Does that do you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
okay.
smaller 4 light is fine with me.
That's what she was saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
4.
all I'm saying.
So what would you say, 4 inches and 4 inches?
Yeah, just
4 and 3.
make them a true gable bed window type of thing. I don't care if they're lines.
You made some comment about what happens then on the
Right.
north elevation, again, I think those 3 windows underneath that dormer.
Plus, in fact, if you're fine with those 3 windows like that, and all the other ones change to the smaller ones,
Yeah.
then I'm not as wigged out about it.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that.
I think it works with the
Very
ones
nice.
above them. I think it works fine with the ones above them. But
Yeah.
these, when you add them, start adding them all over the building at that size, it gets a little
Okay.
weird.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm kind of fine with that. It's like they did a L, and they found some windows from somebody, and they don't exactly match, but they're
Went
close
to the
enough.
dump.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to make a motion to hold for revisions? These are really simple.
Yep. All right.
All righty, thank you. David's
you.
made a motion to hold for revisions. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, John? Okay. I can go over with you again. if I have to.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Newman's representative is here.
So you want to go to him and then come
Yeah,
back to me?
then come back to you. Peter, let's go.
Apologize for my tardiness. We have a new set of plans, hopefully incorporating many or all of the concerns, I think the principal of which was the cellar entryway.
We got to find out if we have enough board members.
Okay.
Everybody sits.
Okay?
Previous concern?
Yep.
Right, let me read. This is an element that has never been introduced into the neighborhood before. That was the entire first floor and the gable roof and projections. 2-story masses are atypical for Mid-Island and doesn't feel appropriate. The added massing is atypical means a main mass and recognizable sequence of additions. It appears there are areas with overhanging hip roofs that are not supported by corner posts.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that's the previous design. There should be a set of minutes after that.
Yeah, sorry, that one was long.
That has nothing
so-
to do with this design.
I'm not sitting on this because I
They know I'm not on.
speak as a member of the public.
Right. So, none of what was heard doesn't make sense anymore. Disregard everything that's been redesigned and go with what's in front of it. Roof elevation entry, middle roof, reverse salt boxes should be changed. All garage doors should have bracing in the inside and simple. The outside 2/2, not appropriate style, should be something like 6/6. Windows should not be white. South elevation, 2 very large skylights should be on one room. Dominant window pattern, should be single. Massing is a big improvement. It needs to be reworked. First level entry and basement entry. These are workable changes that can be done. Motion to hold for revision to the west elevation on the first floor level entry and basement entry needs to be reworked. Reverse all boxes should be changed. All garage doors should have everything inside simple on the outside, just a barn board. 2/2 windows not appropriate. Window style should be 6/6. Windows and doors should not be white, it should be gray. South elevation, 2 large skylights should only be 1. Dominant window pattern, James is 2. Should be single. That's it.
Peter?
Okay, I think one of the larger concerns was the entryway into the basement level, and I
Give us the
think
elevation.
I think it's on the west and north.
Because I'm finding it hard to find
And
the railing.
east
I
and
need the
south.
railing, so I can't find out where you go into it.
South?
It's, let's see, west.
I don't see a door below
I think
that,
it's-
so I don't know how you get into it. It looks like you come down on the west. You see, when he does this, we don't know which is west and which is north.
Well, I imagine
they're
the first
backwards.
one
No,
is
they're
west,
backwards.
and the
No,
second one is
That's what I'm
north.
saying. The long
Let's take a
distance
look.
faces north. So he's got to put the elevations on each one of these, because we have no clue.
Is the front door on the east elevation, or is that the basement going down?
No. The front of the building is north, which is the first page, left side.
The
It
double
faces
doors?
Bartlett Road. That's north. It runs lengthwise.
Yeah, that's right,
But
that's
this,
right.
he's got it backwards, and we don't know which
So
one
it's
is
got
which.
west,
So
so
the
the,
first one is north, the second one
is west. That's right, okay.
Okay?
Yep,
And it looks like the,
the entryway's on the
well,
west.
see, we can't tell. He's showing them multiple places that don't make any sense. There's no fence. We have no idea where the door is. It looks like the stairs are going both directions the way it's drawn. So we have no clue how you're getting into this basement, from what direction. So I got him on that.
If you look at the
This is south.
very first diagram on the front page,
Madam Chairperson, I'm recusing from this.
You're what?
I'm recusing from this application.
You sat on it before, every other time.
Recusing from it.
You want to recuse from it? Then we don't have a quorum, John.
I have to recuse.
Who else sat on this?
Dawn and Jake.
All right, we're going to essentially go without comment then. We're going to fix that. No, I have no clue and I can't force it. So figure out that between now and Tuesday.
the entryway.
Yeah, because it will come back up on this coming Tuesday.
Okay.
All right. Make a motion, Abby, to hold it for quorum.
Something I can't say.
Hold for quorum?
Okay, Abby's made a motion to hold for a quorum on Tuesday. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's, your problem, John, is with, relates to the Newmans? Your problem with this application relates to the
This
Newmans?
is the statewide.
Go to the application to the structure.
Just leave it.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay, thanks for calling, I appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to go to Kaplan. Well, representing the applicant.
Matthew McEachern.
How long has that seen?
I know. I'm here. It's Christmas break.
Good comments. Take these are usually good copper on this elevation. New plan is improved.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So we took your advice and projected, previously the previous design had that center entry way recessed. Kind of pulled it forward and made it flush. Now, because of the setbacks, we actually shifted to a friendship stair, which I actually think works pretty well. The board also requested we do some simple 3D renderings, and so we've provided these for you. Obviously, we'll have the vertical base there, board base. But anyways, these just for reference. One thing I may suggest or would like to put out there just for your thoughts are on either side of the door, we actually have the ability to put in some fenestration. I think it actually would round out that facade a little bit more successfully. Not critical. Yeah, I could always come back for it, but that's one of the things that came out when we did the renderings.
Matt, that's the existing front door, right?
Yes. Yep. All the details, that front entryway, there's actually an amalgam of trim details, but some of the earlier detailing we've emulated on that front entry portico there, and I think it's in keeping with the style.
And that's the only thing you're in here for, not that front piece.
Well, the front piece, there's an
other
enclosed, on the back side, there's an enclosed porch.
Where? It's not highlighted anymore.
It's actually, so this is existing, but on the inside of it, it was open to the air. So it's enclosed, so we're taking the same wall. You ever see one of those windscreen walls?
Yes, I've seen it.
So it's pointed out flush.
So this should be circled. John, circle that. David, circle that.
You want,
John, I want to give you
He's had one already. He gave you the second one.
do you want to press that one down?
get that measure yet?
We can cloud all the changes we do. We just clouded what we changed from the previous submission.
Yeah, always make sure everything carries forward, otherwise we have no clue what's going on.
I can certainly cloud all the changes.
So
David?
what do you want me to call? I'm sorry?
This piece is being pulled forward. It's got a windbreak fake wall on the back, on the north side. And that wall is being pulled up to match the other wall.
Find it. Where?
Left, right where your hand was.
So left of the quadrant right there.
Left, under the board.
Here, this partition of the windscreen.
Yeah.
So he's pulling the wall out. It's the same wall, but it's coming out flush.
Okay, so this is coming out flush with the railing just barely in front of it. Is that what's happening?
No, the deck itself actually, if you look at
Goes
the
out
side
by
elevation, still projects out beyond there. It was a negative mass previously. This was a negative mass
Okay.
underneath this finished space, and this was a windscreen.
Okay.
And so the plan is to just
Pull it out.
partition, match the existing fenestration, just pull it out.
You can see it on the, see part of it on the west. You can see it here.
We clouded just the changes from the previous submission, but David, we would also, part of whatever approval, we would cloud all of the changes just so it's clear.
Okay.
Those are the two main changes.
Right, yep, firmly there.
David?
I think this is going in the right direction, but I don't think it's quite there. I think that it's odd having the columns and the landing in front of the front door being narrower than the bump back. And I think that you ought to spread the stairs so that the top of the stair happens at the corner of the bump out.
Okay.
I also think that having 3 peaks at the ground floor level is too busy. So I'm not in favor of the archtop deal. And I do think it's enormously helpful not having a huge recess back behind those wings. But, I would suggest, and also that the front stair looks huge.
I think you did too many tricks.
If you had a landing that was maybe a step or two lower, so the flight wasn't, I don't know, what is it, 10 steps?
Yeah.
And we've got a generous rising run as well.
I think he's, yeah.
Where I'm going with this, Matt, is what if you had what was in effect a large landing in front of the front door.
Yep.
Maybe what you do is instead of doing the peak with the arch and the columns, is simply trellis it, move the front door back maybe 6 feet.
Yep.
And lower the landing. That would give you then a wall that you could put a front door and a pair of windows onto.
Right.
And it would make it look more like an outdoor space. But in the perspectives, particularly the one head-on, that projecting gable is doing more to obscure the original house behind. So I'd like to get to something that's low, so that you're seeing the house that is the contributing structure behind all of this stuff.
I mean, it's pretty low. One of the things that we're challenged with is we don't want to
Change the plan.
change the, we're trying to keep as much of a hands-off approach to that second floor mass as possible. So
Right.
all of our additions are relegated to a one-story. So we've actually spent a lot of time studying those pitches. Those are relatively shallow. So are you suggesting, Madam Chair, if it's okay to ask just for clarification, are you suggesting getting rid of that projecting gable
I
over
am.
covered?
Yeah.
And then in place
and
of that?
instead having something that
Kind of a flat?
starts just behind your corner boards
So it's
on the
recessed.
two projecting wings.
It's recessed again. but
It's
not
still
defined.
recessed.
Still slightly
Okay.
yeah, your front door's recessed now, what, about 2-3 feet?
Yes, somewhere in that range.
Okay. So, I would maybe...
Actually, a foot.
A foot. I would make that more like 3-4 feet. I would, and I would have a landing that is the full width of the gap between those two.
Right.
So you get a space that's large enough now to sit out on, or to have a bench, or to have some planters. And I would bridge it with some trellising and handle it that way.
Are you okay with the friendship stairs?
I think that they're successful.
Yeah,
I think they're far more successful than the straight shot down the middle. The only thing that's funny about them is that they look too tall.
They do look tall.
The rise and run is very generous. The other thing I liked about it is that this existing side entry is existing. You do, I don't know, I think it works if we pull them all together.
Well, one option is to knock a couple of risers off that front stair and then put a couple of risers that run parallel to the front of the house to get you up to the door. So it's less of a climb.
I got you.
You do it in 2 flights.
I got you.
That means weird.
Okay.
You don't
Okay.
have that down there floor. You don't have that down there anymore.
But
So you're okay with everything else?
yeah, frankly, I'm intrigued because I thought that Matt was just not going to get anywhere in this project.
Originally-
But I think he's finding a path to making it work.
Abby, anything to add?
The only, I think it's very successful. I think the only thing that bothers me is the arch in between the two columns. It looks like it's a cutout rather than something substantial.
David's already, they're getting rid of it. John?
Hubbard Avenue is approximately between a quarter and a half mile in length. There are about 46 houses there.
Oh,
There's not one house on that street that has a welcome stairway. I think very highly inappropriate. It's inimical to the immediate surroundings. You shouldn't be on this structure. There are no others down there. I don't think it's town preference. Others see it, they want it.
David,
Okay, John.
Thank you.
you've made a motion to hold for revision.
Yes, I have.
all
All
right.
those in favor?
Madam Chair, before you leave that,
Oh, Matt,
I
you wanna
noticed
get
that
that
there's your Fogarty project and this project need to have extension forms signed.
I can do it right now if you want.
We'll do it right
Yeah.
now. David, use that thing. That thing.
Then
All right, go do that right now.
Yep.
Danny Boy. Representing the applicant.
Paul Shuttleworth.
fencing equal entire full curtain, so construction would be located. Plan for
do the cabana?
Yeah,
Okay, we did the cabana already, so it was just the pool and then how much fencing.
right, and then there's this hardscaper thing, this like deck path.
Yep.
It's over here. It's this one right here.
All right, Paul. Yep.
You said this is the cabana?
No, we've already done the cabana.
Right.
This is the pool and the jacuzzi. We didn't know where the fence was going.
Yeah, she had it way out.
She had the whole thing.
Right, right.
So how are you closing the gap here to get to the pool? This has to be solid here somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You can't have a path through here, path through here, path through here, and I don't see a fence here. I
Is
can
this what she
only,
has the fence? This right here? Oh, no, this is, you can barely see it. Can you see a little dotted line right there?
what is that?
She does a fence detail, right?
Okay.
Right there?
Because she doesn't show any, she sort of shows screening there, okay.
Yeah, it's like a little, see a
got
little
it.
dot with
I
a
got
line
it,
in
and then
it.
it comes across here.
Yeah, it goes through here.
And we have
Closes
gates.
it. Right. Did she give you a gate move now? I think she,
Well, I'm upside down, so. She needs to staple them and they need to be right side up.
I did that.
Because everything else is upside down.
She's in the permanent spot.
All right, we have no gates. I assume it's going to be standard
Self-closing.
4-foot board, natural weather fence.
Yeah, they're cedar.
That's what they're going to do.
Picket, yeah, that's fine.
John?
Yes, I appreciate the other commissioners going first, even for information.
Okay.
If you have questions, wait till it gets to you.
No, it's not a question, John. We're just verifying where the fence
That's what I
is, because
just
it's
said.
not marked.
You verify it when it's your turn to speak.
No, John.
I appreciate it, I go by the
It gets, if we have,
Robert's rule.
it's not merits,
I'm not
it's
going to
just
argue, we're going by
clarifying.
Robert's rules, and we're not going to go.
John,
How's that?
that is Robert's rules, and that's too bad. Abby?
I'm not sure. You just called me, give me the
Oh.
floor.
Well, then use it.
Well, you're getting wise, or what's the matter with you? You're
No,
so
I said
snappy.
just comment on the merits. There's nothing in violation of anything else. Do you have any questions on what's happening here, because they don't have a fence detail?
Happens every night.
John, that's enough.
No, you don't, you won't learn. You just interrupt everybody. You
John,
interrupted
I
Dave, you interrupted
asked
me.
you to go on the merits of the application. If you got a problem with the fence or anything.
That's my question,
Yeah.
is the fencing adequate for screening the pool?
Yeah, especially where it's located now. They're just going to have to pull the only thing is that what we've been doing is pulling that fence off the property line. So the fence would have to come in 5 feet so she can get a double row on both
Fine,
sides. And that would be
fine.
off the west property line.
Yeah, okay.
You see where that is, Abby?
Yes.
Okay, so it would come 5, bless you, it would come 5 feet off the west property line.
Okay.
And double row.
One on their side and one on the neighbor's side.
But in, so you
Right,
control
right.
both sides of that
Got it.
hedge.
Both of them.
That's what happens when you put it on the property line. You don't control the other side.
Right, you go from your property line
Yeah,
in.
so that's why you move the whole fence in 5
Got
feet
it.
and double row it like
No
the rest of
problem.
it. And then 4-foot natural to weather
Got it, height.
board gate.
And I think, is there 2 gates there?
Yeah, but we don't have,
She
there's
has
one here.
one there and one that.
She doesn't list one over here, but there's got to be one over
Well,
here.
see this footpath now? That's the next aspect of this. This is the hardscaping. This was like a deck, but now it's a footpath, so the gate's here.
I see it.
Okay, I see
See
it.
a
I
little
just see it.
slope? Yeah.
Yep, I see it.
And then in terms of the pool equipment, I know that was the other question, was
Yep.
where it's gonna go inside the cabana structure.
Okay.
There's like a storage closet, it's gonna go in there.
What's the surfacing of this?
It's just a footpath now. That-
Dirt,
Yeah,
grass?
that's the next part he's gonna probably show you. That's a separate application, so.
Oh, I got it. All right, Abby, make a motion.
Motion to approve
With the,
with the double
Fence.
fencing, double trees, whatever, around the rear fencing and the...
fence moved in 5 feet from the westerly property line.
Right.
And the...
And then,
And the gates, the board, natural to weather, 4 foot.
To weather.
got it, right here.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
John? Brian?
I'll make a statement, I think what you started with is good enough. There shouldn't have been any changes. Because it's outside the old HTC area, and that's more appropriate for housekeeping.
Thank you.
John, are you in favor of the motion or
I
not?
just said yes.
I think that was unanimous. Now we've got the other stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
These plans are gonna probably be upside down too.
Yeah. It's sort of like, oh,
Yeah, that's what happens when you ask me.
just make sure you staple them next time and you'll be able to figure that out. No, these look all right.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be something.
Yeah. Okay, what's this one for?
So, this is just in regards to, I think, the driveway. Don had a comment about the driveway being, that the oval being too big and to call out the details in it, right? And then that first half was, which was a deck in the original submission.
We haven't signed anything.
I think maybe the apron was in question too.
Well, we didn't know what it was.
Yeah, it wasn't called out.
Yeah, it wasn't called out.
Right.
Okay, so it's not really the pool this time. It's
No.
housekeeping.
The other one was the pool.
Yeah, because he's got the pool circled on this. All right, Abby, any concerns now?
No.
John, any concerns? All right, John's made a motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Abby, here comes David. David, are you on the next one? That was David's. David, your pen went somewhere.
I think these are older drawings.
Send John and Abby.
They're saying that these are not the right drawings.
What is it? Did you look at fence detail now?
This
That
is,
was,
this is
when we
Jan.
first submitted.
Oh, this is June. These aren't the right drawings. John, wrong ones.
Let me see if I have any extra copies for you.
You lose these.
John, how are you? I don't know what's going on. I didn't submit it. He did.
You're just hanging out.
I thought he was just going to landscape.
Abby, come. So what's happening here?
You just have this one copy, but we submitted this as part of the, yep, there you go.
Yeah.
What if you looked in the file?
Not this one.
No, not those either, Abby. What's the date on the one that you have on the top? John, do you have,
Yeah, he's got a new one.
Dates on it.
January 8th.
I don't have one.
Yep.
Yeah. Just one page.
Okay, John, that,
June
you have that one.
19th is on this thing.
Yeah, that was.
That's the wrong one.
That's what we submitted way back when.
John, this one I think is the right one.
Yep.
Okay, what's happening here?
Okay. It's a swimming pool with the hardscape.
I don't have a locus plan.
On the previous one.
All right, so I need that back.
It's blackfish.
Here are the
The rotary and blackfish. This property abuts the conservation land.
I've got it.
Oh, you know where it is. Yeah. John. Sconset. Coffins.
That's been pleased with, yeah.
Yep. All right. What was the reason it was held?
We just got the house approved, the cottage approved, and then Mark was hired as the landscape architect designer And so we developed a plan. So the only reason we held it was just until we had a finalized plan.
This is
Guys,
prepared for like most of the houses on Blackfish. I've done 4 of them already, and the landscapes are pretty much the same. This house, looking back, you cannot see the pool area at all, and there's just a little bit of a grade change there, but it's a small patio area, small pool.
small, no, 40 feet's not small, but that doesn't matter.
Small in these days.
Mark the fence going around it, I can't find it, because it goes backwards.
Yeah, we got a board fence just going most of the way, 4-foot board foot fence right here, and the rest is going to be.
But where does the wire go?
It go. Oh, here, this
Yeah,
right.
there you go.
Where's the wire goes? Yep, here you go. Oops, that says. Here is a gate, comes across here, and we were trying to bring this so that this was 4 feet high, and we didn't require anything here. But there's probably going to be a little bit of a fence on top of this wall. Okay, there's a retaining wall. The property slants about 3 feet. You know, about from here to here, it's about 3 feet. So
We're not dealing with wire anywhere?
there is going to no wire
It's
at
all
all.
board. It's all board fence. Yay!
How about that?
How about that? No wire, John.
What's around the pool?
Well, it's a
There's a
4-foot
retaining
drop.
wall.
It's at the infinity edge.
Oh,
It drops
I-
off this little area here, so you don't require it there.
Yeah,
Your favorite type of pool, John, where it falls over the edge.
yeah, right. Below the edge, that's the one.
Give him back his pen.
Oh, here you go. Thank you, John.
4-foot natural weather.
Yes.
All right. Anybody have any issue with it? It says mesh here. Are you doing board or mesh?
I'm doing board,
All right, so it's not mesh.
not mesh there.
Is it all squared off Blackstone or?
Yeah, it won't be. It'll be pattern stock with a border. We're not even sure if we're going to do that at random, but again, there's not much of it, and the owner actually doesn't even want that much bluestone. He wants to reduce it.
Okay. Any other comments, Abby?
I guess because you can't see it, it doesn't really matter, but it
That's right.
just looks very geometric to me, and not very natural.
Gotcha.
We approved a lot of what's on that backside of the house because you couldn't see it.
I'm just saying, it still looks very geometric.
It's Jersey sidewalk. I go
He-
back to that all the time.
He's from Connecticut.
I'm from Jersey. John, any issues? John, just make in part of your motion that it's a 4-foot natural weather board fence, no mesh. Because it says mesh on the plan. All those in favor?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
See you.
Right off. You're still here. No? No. Yeah, she couldn't be here Tuesday. Probably can't be here today either. Oh, I got it. David, I don't know. Who's sitting?
Linda, John, David, Abby, everybody.
David, come back.
Any concerns? Motion to hold until page. Right. Discussion clarifying the project due to drafting errors, colors proposed are white trim, garage door, and sash. Motion to hold for corrected application and revision.
Okay. She said she fixed the drawings. Yes, somebody did. She said she knows already that we have to square off the garage doors.
Okay,
She texted me that.
all right.
I don't have any issues so long as they square it off.
Motion to approve with the haunches removed from the
Square off.
garage doors on the west elevation.
We'll square off the garage doors.
That's what that means.
Yes, I know, but somebody who doesn't might not know. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Keep those oranges up.
Those suckers off. Okay, Warden Allen, come on up.
Linda, John, David, Abby.
Yay. We're done with the barn.
You can send them all here and I'll
They're all rubber banded.
okay.
Plans mismarked, too many posts on left, front door is not appropriate. Second floor, protracted back on both porches, east is visible, two front doors, next door, standard 15.
Did you do any of this stuff that we talked about?
There's problems addressed, south elevation, going around the corners, window side is okay, but dormer is built enormous. Full windows back 8 inches, roof should be flush. Right side, triple gang dormer should be raised to 2, or should be double gang, front door, 2.8. No concerns on east, west elevation wall, right-hand side. Remaining lots, 2 point, north elevation not visible. Porch, south elevation, left side, has seen post, short roof, natural weather. All windows not identified on plan, outdoor vision.
Yeah, it's not really working. These are just we running that.
This is just the.
I have one.
You got it right here.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Okay, Alan?
So I attempted to address many, if not all, of the concerns, and I've noted those on the drawings. I had further dialogue with Linda and David and attempted to address some further issues. And so I'm happy to have comments or walk through the 15 changes I made from last meeting. Whatever is easier for you.
All right, let's just go through that first. John?
Okay.
What's the further dialogue here?
I emailed Linda, and because I thought this could maybe get on consent.
Yeah, and
she
I said no.
responded, no. That's the short version. I could give you the long version, but we'd kill a few trees. And I did then subsequently take a little time to propose some alternates to what you're seeing to address some of Linda's concerns.
Your numbering system, okay, my only one question on that. Did you have
I did label the doors fixed or hopper, and that they are in the door schedule. There should be A7.
Right, there's nothing for the sevens.
The what?
Identify the number 7.
I think if you lift, hopefully, and you got it right.
What's number 7, John?
On the, it's all excuse, I've got west elevation in the drama. There's your number, listed number 7. You got 3 sides, I can't find the number 7.
It says they're double hung.
Where's there a 7? I don't see a 7.
That's the previous elevation.
John, don't look at this one. John, don't look at that one. Look at that
That's the previous. So the proposed. Always look at the top drawing.
one. There are no 7s.
Yeah, number 7. Okay, that is that. Take it.
This is a problem.
Talk about it.
David?
I'm viewing these drawings specifically with location on the site and location at the end of the road in mind. There are some things about this house that were, if it were in a more visible location closer to town, I think might warrant a lot of restudy.
The front is perfectly visible.
The front is perfectly visible. It's really the main thing that's visible. Although it's the second house from the end on a dead-end dirt road, and it's at the back of the lot. So both of those enter into my thinking. The other thing is that the house is twisted to the road. So the main body in the middle projects forward, and because of the rotation, part of the right-hand wing is obscured because both of these wings are set very far back. And so your impression of this house once it's built is very different than the impression that is given by the elevation drawing. So I am, for example, I know it's going to get discussed whether or not the windows should be 6/1. I think the 6/1s feel more natural on the two wings, which are less formal, than they feel on the center block, which is to the front. And if this were in town, I would think that definitely they needed to be 6/6. And perhaps the commission will feel that the four windows on the front need to be 6/6. But I think the more casual treatment on the additive masses to the back, given the location, makes the 6/1 something which is acceptable here. I think the front door has improved. I think the dormers over the front door are much better than they were. I have some uneasiness about the double dormer on the right, but frankly, it's so far back and so obscured from view by the center block that I just don't think it's going to have much presence. The dormer on the double ganged dormer on the right, I think is much improved by having been had one window reduced from it and having the posts below aligned. So I also now think that that works. On the north elevation, I think that there is virtually no visibility. That said, I think that having the additional lights in the French doors is an improvement, although I think that probably they ought to be a 2-light rather than 3 across, because we're getting extremely narrow lights in those French doors. And they're very much unlike the width of the lights in the windows on the project, or even the width of the lights of the first floor French doors, which I don't really think are visible.
Is that E and G, David?
That's E and G. I'm really not a fan of either of these balconies, but I don't believe there's visibility. I'm not so much concerned with the one on the right. I think the one on the left is way too wide and too big. But again, I don't think we've got jurisdiction over it. Moving on. There's some visibility of this east elevation. I think there's essentially no visibility of the west elevation, so I'm not even going to talk about it. I don't have big concerns here. I don't like the bracket supporting the balcony, but it's inset from the corner. I don't think there's visibility of that from the road. And the French doors feel like, again, the lights feel too narrow to me. But I think otherwise, this is all right. Those are my comments.
I won't be voting. Abby?
I agree with David. I think the narrowing of the lights in the new proposed drawing, I don't like the linearness of them. I prefer the earlier proposal. But if David said to make them into 2/2s, I think that's a good solution as well. Otherwise, I like the
Is it 2 wide and 5 long?
It's not 2/2. It's 10 lights.
10 lights. It's 2 times 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alan, when I look at the south elevation, and I look at the door on the right-hand side, it's got 6 lights.
Dual.
Now, the vertical stiles, left and right, on that maybe have been drawn too slender. But the lights, there you've got a door that's got 3 lights across. It looks related to the size of the window lights, left and right. If I look at your rear elevation, or even the east elevation, it seems to me that the vertical sides of those doors has been drawn much too wide, and it's distorting our impression of the doors. Your E door on the north elevation, it feels like it's drawn all wrong. And maybe I'm pinpointing a problem that doesn't exist, if it were drawn correctly. Your paired French doors, a G on the right-hand side there, there again, I just think it'll get looked at. It doesn't look right now, but
Doesn't
you,
look like
you,
the
you,
15 lights has more horizontal
Yep.
thing.
yeah, you
It may not be drawn right. And
Yeah.
I'm happy for
I
it
would
to
have
either
to
be a
go-
10 light or a 15
I
light.
would have to go move sideways to get through those doors. That's the problem.
they're narrow.
They're too narrow.
Yep, they're narrow. Well,
Too
they're,
narrow.
There's not a lot of room under that.
Really,
stage.
they're way too narrow. And that's why they're getting a considerable weird.
well, I think
Light
the
pattern.
stiles are too wide, too. If I can read this. I mean, it's a 3.0 door. I think it's just not rendered well.
It's not drawn right.
Right, that's right. It's got too much,
It's
too much framing.
They're too,
Too big
I agree.
frame and too little glass.
and I don't care if they're 15 light or 10 light, as long as it looks good.
I think it's 15 lights.
And I can redraw those.
John,
No comment.
I still have concerns. I've never seen a cape, and that's essentially what this is a cape, with two little tiny dormers in the main mass and two humongous dormers on each side of it. If you look at the previous rendering on the bottom of the page, I think those dormers are far more successful. Whether they're 6/1s or 6/6s is whatever. But I think the way you have the dormers on the one on the bottom of the page is far more successful, because then at least the two on the main mast are the same size as one of them. But the tiny, tiny little dormers, I've never in my life seen a cape that's done this way, David. I don't care where it is, if this faces the street.
You
So
know,
I'm not going
If
there.
you look at the big photo on the front page of the real estate section that came out this morning, you'll see a cape with two enormous damn dormers on top of
And
it.
they're too big.
And the only thing you see are those dormers, and it looks ridiculous.
It does, but-
And it's the same problem that you'll have if you go back to the first version.
Okay, now
of this
who's
house.
arguing with who? Okay, so let's play fair. But I'll have
Okay,
a discussion with
You argue with me now, we'll be even.
But I'll have a discussion with you about it. But I think
Yeah.
those two tiny little top sash, which doesn't even match the top sash, two tiny little dormers with two big dormers on each side are not normal. I don't mind the two dormers on each side, but I think the ones in the main body of the house need to get back to the original size. That's all I'm saying.
You know, if this was a Matt McEachern house, for example, where it
He
was
wouldn't have done it.
where it was all strung out in a line,
He wouldn't have done it.
you would be 100% correct. But these are wings that are essentially on a building that is entirely behind the main mast,
Well,
right?
that leads me to my second problem.
So,
Let's go there. East elevation, major problems with this humongous piece, all of which are bigger than the main mass. And in case you hadn't noticed it, there's a way running right down that end. Yes,
Why do you argue back and forth? You have the floor, you should provide what
I
you
have
like
the
or don't like. If he has the floor,
I have the
yeah,
floor.
don't argue, please don't argue.
What is the status of the way?
It's a private way.
It's a traveled way.
he said private.
It's private. It's
Doesn't
only,
matter. We go down private ways all the time.
there's no access. I checked with Arthur
A
Reed.
publicly traveled way is the limit of our jurisdiction. I believe.
Nobody does.
Traveled way. We've used it many times to bash everybody else. So that whole right-hand wing is a real problem to me. It's almost as wide as the main mast. It's longer than the main mast. It looks weird compared to the smallness, which is appropriate, of the main mast. But my biggest problem are those two dormers in the front. I'd like them to go back to the number 6 dormers you had on the original iteration.
And this is an alternative I drew, where you take two and made them wider rather than tall, because
That's not at all appropriate.
when I was here last, the comments I got were those two dormers were too big on the main mast.
Linda?
They're not now compared to the other ones. Because
I
you
thought-
changed the other one.
Linda, I'd like to make a motion to approve as submitted.
Knock yourself out. But just remember these private ways, because we use them all the time against people. All the time. Traveled way is a traveled way. If it didn't say way, it wouldn't be an issue. If it said driveway, it wouldn't be an issue. It says way. We use paper roads and Surfside against people all the time.
On the motion?
David's made a motion to approve as drawn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Certainly opposed.
Thank you.
to look so atypical, nothing on the island like it. And I'm not going down that road.
I think you're going to like it.
I'm not. Those two dormers in the front are big problems.
They're bigger than they look. Thank you.
Okay. Middle C, we passed over. They didn't put any revisions in.
Yeah.
N Magazine. Matt. I know it is. We got all confused with it last week.
I think it's an advisory committee.
Yeah, they said told him what to do.
Yeah.
And I said it could go on consent if he brought in what they were supposed to do, and that was my note to them last week. So I
Okay.
don't know what happened here.
Okay.
Because I talked to Kevin about it when I was looking at it. John?
Are you guys going to have time to look at the
Do you really want us to do that without...
21
everybody else
Broads
here?
letter endorsement?
I think it makes sense because we at least have a potential forum
Hey,
here.
that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to get,
That's fine with what he wants, it's fine.
you're talking about 21 Broad.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to submit the final documentation to wrap up Phase
Right.
2. And they just wanted to make sure that,
Are we not getting a sign application?
Sorry, I was just taking.
I forget, I don't know if Kevin's note was still on. Look at the sign advisory note. Because I had a note on it after I talked to Kevin, so I don't know what happened here.
The question is it painted or carved? It should not be vinyl.
it's,
It was never going to be vinyl.
no,
Well,
it's carved.
it's carved.
Yeah.
And they were looking for some kind of an edge banding detail, which is typical on island signs. This does not have
Color
one.
is this? This is a blue.
Okay.
I'm a little surprised by the size that's being asked for.
It's the same size as the sign that had been there.
Yeah, it's just so much bigger than the kind of signage we normally allow.
Except that we allowed a larger sign with Cheney Brothers at the other end.
Yeah, sometimes when these things come back to us, we correct earlier mistakes.
The edge banding detail, you want some kind of like a chamfer type around the perimeter? Be like a
How
thumbnail?
high is this overall? It's a 10-foot long sign, 15 inches high.
Beveled edges.
That means that the typeface is probably 11 to 12 inches high, which seems like a lot to me. You recall that we passed a resolution here that street signage carved into stones not be higher than 4 inches. And this is almost 3 times that.
Except that their only concern was the vinyl, which it's not, and that the edge banding be painted. That's their only concern.
That's their only concern. I'm talking about my only
Because
concern.
I did talk to Kevin,
The,
So,
and they said they weren't concerned.
you asked me about the edge banding.
Yeah.
Linda, I would recommend
Color.
that there be a 1-inch quarter-round edge band. And
just FYI, the text, the font, David scales out at 6 inches.
what are the capital letters?
Capital letters are, capital letters are
Certainly not 15.
8.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
They weren't concerned.
You know, I would recommend that
1-inch quarter round edge.
the overall height of the sign be limited to 10 inches, a reduction of 2. That some kind of edge banding be incorporated, and that the length be adjusted accordingly.
What does that mean?
It means that the sign is going to have the same proportions, but what you're going to do is reduce the height from 12 inches to 10, and you'll reduce the length proportionally, so that the overall design will appear the same. It'll just be a little bit smaller.
I have a question.
I don't think that's going to look good.
On the 10 inches, is that including the new banding?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I was going to do a sign for the platform tennis, and it's off Hinsdale, and I went through this whole thing where I tried
Yeah.
to figure out, and the the letters themselves, 6 inches, is 6 inches what?
The lowercase are 6 and the uppercase are 8
That
3/4.
just seems
fine.
like a good size to see, and it's sort of the same distance.
Uh-huh.
And 6 is what I came up with for the height of it.
Madam Chairman, my
Yeah.
other is the, because I think that the overall dimension of the sign itself is 15, probably greater with the actual, if you go just for the blue face, that's 15 inches
Height.
height.
Yeah.
And you're saying to go down to 8?
Well,
No,
No, it's 10.
it's going to look like a
So it's a
string.
5-inch reduction.
your height is what presently?
If it
It's
goes
15 inches?
15 here to
Okay,
here.
so then I would recommend that we reduce the height of the blue face to 12 inches and add an edge band around it.
Like an inch and a half or something.
And keep the font the way it is.
Yes.
The font's fine.
All right.
And what color is the banding?
White is what it's right now.
Will it stand out against the yellow, though? Or should it be a blue like the sign itself?
It could be, what do you, like, I think if you went blue.
White is fine, it's white lettering.
If you went blue, would you go the darker blue?
That's what I'm saying. But,
Yeah, that's not going to look good.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if the white would stand out against the yellow. That's my question about white, because that's what I thought at first, too. But
The edge banding, Dave, you're saying if
Yeah.
it's an inch? If
Well,
I,
3/4 inch top all the way around.
so if I do like a 3/4 like thumbnail, so it'd be like an inside kind of quarter radius, you might like pick up a shadow line there as opposed to,
What
I
color?
think it should be at least
White.
an inch.
White.
Yeah.
I think
An
it should be
inch
white.
is nothing.
All right.
yeah.
So, somebody want to make a motion here? David?
Are they serif fonts?
They are serifed.
They
Yeah,
are.
Yeah.
We had a
So
sign
far what
that's
I've got is the
8
blue
without
face
serifs.
reduced to 12
Gotta go back and
inches.
chisel serifs.
Matt, the blue face reduced to 12 inches with an edge band about 3/4 inch white,
3/4 to an inch, yeah.
3/4 to an inch.
Make it-
That's an inch.
And that's it.
I'll move it to staff.
John's made that motion through staff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's white edge. Oh, wait, I have it here.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Send it over to John before you send it back. Yes, right there. There's nothing to sign. 13, my Jean Mann, oh, another sign. Wait a minute. One of these is already approved. I signed it last week, we voted on it last week, it's already approved. If they brought in a better color green, why is this back on?
Maybe the green wasn't better, let's have a look.
No, they were supposed to hold it, according to Kevin, they're supposed to hold it. We already approved it. Hold it until they brought in a proper
It's on the
green
page
chip.
After the page.
Because it was like neon green, and the sign said
Well, sign
no.
advisory's comments were both for representation and color. You can write about the green chip. And then you signed it as chair, and it says not bright green, needs to be muted, no day glow green, bring chip in for file. But I also note that the fonts are not serif.
I spoke to Kevin, and that's what he said. We did vote it in last week, so I don't know what happened after that. But that's what Kevin said. I
Yeah.
called him and I was saying, should I sign this? And he said, yeah, did you vote on it? I said, yes, we voted in favor of it. They just didn't like that day glow green.
Well, this is also a 15-inch sign, and it ought, like the other one, ought to be reduced to 12.
Well, we have already voted in favor of this as a board last week.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, I just,
Well, it's on consent.
I think they're willing to
You
do
guys never get to review it.
whatever. And I didn't put this on consent, so
boy, I don't like that.
that's what they
I don't
said.
like that
They
at
said,
all.
no, not that green.
I think the sign design is just terrible.
Well, they said it was fine, except for the green.
The lettering is so small.
The lettering-
I don't know why.
The
It's
sign's
like,
enormous,
you
the
can't even read
lettering's
it.
tiny, you can't read it,
It's a bad design.
it's too modern, it's not a serif font.
Right, and that's why I called them.
You should be able to read it. from
It
the
shouldn't have
street.
gone on consent, but I didn't put it on consent, but it went on consent. So, I didn't put it on consent, I never saw it.
Say this is a very unfortunate result.
Well, staff put it on consent.
I'm not interested in a blame game, I just think it's a very unfortunate result.
I think it went because sign, Kevin said it was fine, except for the color.
The guy next door all over about it.
So what do you want to do with it?
What would the green be if it wasn't the green of the...
It was more of a muted green, not the day glow green. That's pretty intense.
Like the green on this?
John, we already approved it. Now we got a problem.
Ask him to come in. I don't know.
Well, the question is, what can, given the approval we've given, what can we still do? Right?
Nothing. I can have a chat with him.
Let's please have, I'm very surprised because the sign policy is generally not to allow logos. This is plainly a logo.
They're limited to a certain percentage. I think that's what they held it to.
I see.
I think it's hard.
I do have, an email, from you that might...
Let's talk to Gino. Let's talk to him.
It hasn't been issued yet. It was held for the paint job.
Yeah,
He signed it, but
he's a
it hasn't
very
been issued.
reasonable guy. He wants, I think, to do something that everybody's going to feel good about.
Tell me what you want him to do. I'll ask him. 12 inches? An inch edging, right?
Well, what I would do is, I would take the, he's got a gray border all the way around this thing.
Okay.
I would convert that border into an edging, so that we've got a 1-inch edging, so that in that respect, it's similar to the sign.
The
that we
gray
just
would go
approved.
on the edging as opposed to the face, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Then what? That green's got to change.
But it's
You know-
gray, I think.
This is why I do the consent.
Okay, I don't want to argue about that.
There isn't any. Okay.
There's one thing that's peculiar about this lettering is not only is it short, but you can get lettering that is squat and wide or tall and narrow. For some reason, we have squat and wide here. And so, I understand that he's got a problem that his sign needs to have more letters than just about any sign we've seen in 5 years.
Right.
So that's a problem he's got to deal with. But he's made a choice of font that is making the problem worse. You've got an enormous sign, but it's still hard to read.
So it should be serif anyway, right?
It should
It's
be a
not
serif font, and he should pick something that's tall and narrow. And it may not be what he uses on his other letterhead, but this is a street sign. It ought to conform to our street sign standards.
You should be able to read it from the street.
Yeah.
You shouldn't just have to squint and see
Right.
what it is up
I
there.
could put my glasses on, probably still not read it. All right, so I will have a conversation with Gino.
Well, let's ask him to work with us. I think he
Are we talking Gene Mann or Gino?
will. Well, who's the...
It's the applicant.
Gene Mann is the applicant, but I believe this is Gino's thing.
You direct who you're talking to. You talk to the applicant, whoever the representative is.
Yeah. Or,
I don't know Jeff Tachi offhand.
well, so give Gino or Gina a call, and they'll figure it out and steer you the right way, okay?
Let me see the application again.
Can we get a quick look at the application again?
I don't think any sign should go on consent, frankly.
What was that?
I don't think any sign should go on consent after this. Gene? I have
You're
this.
the chair.
Well, I don't think any sign should go on consent.
Well, you look at the agendas and don't you pull them off. You don't think they're important.
I didn't see them. You did the consent.
Is this a productive...
So I had nothing to do with this. Bruce owns the building, though.
No.
I'd make a motion to have the staff contact Gene and have a talk with him, and if he wants to go further, bring him into the meeting.
Well, John, he's already been approved. We just have to have a nice conversation with him that makes sense. Bluefin Partners?
Who would assume that would be...
That was my motion.
John, we don't have any motions on it because we got to just deal with it
We discussed it.
quietly. Yeah, but we can't legally even discuss it. It's already been approved.
Who said so?
It's already been approved.
Well, it doesn't matter, you can all show the back to somebody. And that's why the commission's here.
I do think John's right about that, but and it's on the agenda, so we can talk about it. But I don't think we need to conclude our business by making a motion today. I think
Right.
we
There's
can-
no motion
I think
gonna be
we
made.
can simply pass on and allow
I'll
either
have a
staff
chat.
or the chair to have a quiet conversation with the applicant
All right.
and see if we can get to somewhere we're all happy.
I don't think those guys are here for workshops, so we'll just go without them.
Let's do people who are here first.
Try to mention logos, Dave, you disapprove of in magazine.
It's always, I'm always glad you're here, John.
Well, the next,
We're going to skip BPC too, then?
yeah, that's, just stay in order, David.
Well, what's
At
the
the
order?
discretion of the chair.
Yeah, Bluefin Partners, let's go. It just makes a mess for Terry.
Board?
Okay.
Linda, John, David, and everybody.
Oh, another pool. What were the concerns?
Rotate pool 90 degrees, bring fence in from property line 5 feet. Hopefully,
I don't believe these are the correct plans.
Yeah.
These are not the right plans.
I thought was to put it behind the garage.
Plus, these plans are from November. The cover sheet says January 3rd, but when you go back to these other ones, they say November 25th.
And I don't see any.
I don't see any pool. Oh, David, is it this one?
No, it's the first one on the right as you drive in.
Okay, which would be this one? David, that's rotated. It's not rotated on the site plan.
That's
I
this
see
one.
that, yep.
Okay, that's what we're looking at, right?
Yep,
So it's that one there.
that one, okay.
So
Yep.
I don't think it's been rotated.
Keep it on, unless these are the wrong plans. But the cover sheet says January, but the rest of them say November. David, your motion is to hold for revisions per the minutes?
Yes.
David's made a motion to hold for revisions per the minutes from last time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
If you're into the last 5, need a quorum. I don't have to cut it off.
I think we'll be okay. Seacliff? I don't know, BBC rarely comes on Thursdays, you know that?
They're probably out of town
Not all.
looking at their Bahamas project or something.
Linda, David, John, and Abby, everybody.
John, that's yours.
Yes.
Okay,
Time to finish this. I would like to make a statement, if I could.
Yep.
My intention, as of
Oh, not
sometime
John.
around Christmas, I was thinking, and I made up my mind, I was going to try to keep my mouth shut at the meetings here, try to get on more smoothly. All right, one of the biggest things that interrupts me is cross conversation and everybody taking their turn and not arguing with each other. I'd like that to be a procedure in the future. You know, it gets me, I'm a little upset, sometimes worse, but I think we should work more to that, because I hear a lot of people sitting here, why are they arguing back and forth wasting our time? It was one reason, you know? And I think go back and forth because you don't like something someone said. I respect everybody's opinion. Very seldom I ever say something, you know, out of that respect to that. I just think we should get our heads together and be more public thinking, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know. It'd be a lot smoother and things would go a lot easier without our own interruption of my public. Thank you.
Okay, are you going? 2:45? Okay. Let the record reflect that John left at 2:45. Seacliff, this should follow the house. I don't think we're done with the house, remember? It came in
We're
the other
not
night.
done with the house. I think that it's okay to comment because the changes on the house that we're looking for are probably not going to affect the footprint in a way that is going to significantly alter what they're coming to us for
Except for the
this.
hardscape.
So it might be helpful to have some comment in the minutes, even if we hold it to run with the main house.
Okay, David?
I do not have concerns with the way they have run this fencing for the pool. It seems appropriate to me. I'm glad they are fencing the condensers. I have some question about the way that fence attaches to the bulkhead that is going to the basement, because the fence is presumably 4 feet high, and the bottom end of that bulkhead is presumably 8 to 10 inches high. So I don't think that that's really been worked out, and they ought to have a look at that before they come back to us. So maybe we want to hold it for those revisions.
Somebody make that motion?
Well, Abby may have comments.
Are you talking about right here?
Yes.
This bulkhead?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they couldn't just bring it to the corner of the house somehow, the vegetation.
Thank you.
of it.
Thank you, John. Bye-bye.
To just, are you saying that this should be obscured from this angle, or what?
Well, I'm saying, the bulkhead slopes down almost to the level of the grass, and then you've got a 3-foot-high fence coming up there. But there's, presumably some view over the top of the bulkhead back into that pen.
Absolutely.
That includes the condensers.
Right from Cliff Road.
At the very least, the fence needs to turn at the bulkhead and return back to the house so that the condensers are fully enclosed by screening. The other comment that I have is that this is quite a formal house with lots of ornamentation, and I think that a capped picket fence is therefore more appropriate than an uncapped picket.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm making a motion to
Abby
hold.
may have other comments.
The last time we saw this, didn't somebody say this was too formal for
Yeah, that's what I'm
circular
saying.
driveway?
There's multiple parts to this. We're just asking to have it tracking the house, if the house is still out there somewhere.
Yeah, this application is specific to the pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh?
There's no form to see that?
There's what?
There's no form for that. Sorry, my apologies, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about this.
Well,
Oh, that may be the case on Hussey.
Okay.
Hello? I tried like 4 or 5 times. What is that going on? I hate that.
So we're putting this,
We're holding, motion to hold for revisions to the fence and tracking the main
And to
house.
track with the main house.
Okay? All
Yeah.
those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Come on up here, tiny sad elf. Hold on. Hello?
I don't have a quorum any longer.
Hello? Yes?
On the next one, you don't have a quorum.
Yeah,
Ken, I'm in the middle of an HCC meeting.
can I say something
I'll call you back when I get out.
about that, Mark? Or
Okay, bye.
Everybody?
What?
Okay. I don't know whether I have a quorum on Tiny Sad.
You do.
You do?
I do, okay.
You don't have it on 62.
But now I want to mention something about that Wall Street project,
Hold on, that's a quorum issue.
Wall Street.
Tom,
which is
you
the
don't have a
next
quorum,
one on the
right?
list.
Oh.
It's the next one. So, here's what happened. Wall Street has been reviewed twice. The first time, Lisa was here. Apparently, Abby, you were sitting on it. I was unaware of that, okay? I came in the
Right,
second
it's the wrong
time.
board.
There were no minutes, so, and I wasn't in at the first meeting, so
Right.
I didn't know who was sitting.
And Terry wasn't here.
Right. So I came back and I said, "Oh, Lisa, John and I think you also were not on it, but we know that was true because you were away." So, long and short, you were on it initially, but you weren't on it the second time. So I don't know what the protocol is.
She can't be on it now unless she listens to the one meeting she
Okay.
missed.
Well, I just want to raise it because John was not on it initially, and John sat for the
And he
second.
can't sit at
So
all.
it's a little, a little messed up.
He can't sit at all. Abby
Okay.
can get back on if she listens to the one meeting, which you can tell staff what it is they need to get for you.
So regardless, we don't have a quorum now, I just
Or
wanted
you
to...
can resubmit and get it.
Oh, okay.
Withdraw and resubmit.
All right.
Yeah.
That is a possibility. Okay.
So work it
thanks.
out. Work it out. Because if you figure out what meeting that Abby has to listen to, she can get a copy of the thing,
Okay.
watch it on TV. And
Were you
read it.
down to 3, Ray? Is that the problem?
Well,
Well,
he has
with them
other
here,
ones, but
not
he's
here.
Well, it's weird. It depends on who you include in that group.
Tuesday, you can.
Linda's definitely on.
Right.
Dawn is still definitely on because she didn't miss this because it's not being reviewed.
Right.
And then it was either Abby and or John. And it sounds like John can't sit.
Nope.
So Abby and I think that's it.
Hold on.
Well, if we put it at the...
Beginning of Tuesday.
At the beginning of Tuesday, you should have
Everybody's
3.
here.
You have Linda, Don, and John who are still on.
No,
Well,
John is not
Abby can
supposed to
be
be
there.
on it.
I'm just
Yeah.
John.
separate from anything else he said. That's who you have available.
Okay, so
No.
we just need to know whether...
No, you don't have John available.
So what I'm asking then is whether Abby should be reading in and whether you're willing to do that.
Yeah, I can read it.
Okay.
So
In
really,
which case, we would keep the application alive, hear it on Tuesday, presumably after you've listened to the tapes or
What's
whatever.
the address of the application?
62 Walsh.
62 Walsh, it's the one right after Times. Yeah, bless you. Yeah, 62 Wall Street.
So you're saying John shouldn't have been on it?
That's right.
Yeah, that was my error.
December 19th?
That's right.
He was
John should
not
be
supposed
on
to have been on because he was not on the original application.
it. So it should be myself, Dawn, and Abby, and I thought there was Jason. Maybe
I
not.
don't think so.
If it
She
was a
wasn't on the
Thursday,
last
yeah.
one. I mean,
All
she
right.
could potentially read.
So
back
Abby
into
has to
it.
read or watch the tape or do something, but do you know what meeting that was, December, or not, it was December 19th?
December 19th was the one that John was
And you should have the
sitting
minutes
on
somewhere on your
in
computer,
error.
too.
I have December 19th.
Okay.
Abby, you should have them on the, you might have been emailed those already.
That was right, you can get it from...
Well, Terry wasn't here.
Yeah. I have the,
They didn't have the computer.
You get the tape.
They had the little machine.
yeah, that's what records.
Okay.
That little machine?
And in
that
one
what that
meeting,
does?
Terry, unfortunately, they couldn't find a little machine, so we didn't have
It's a
that.
tiny little machine.
It should, there's also the video.
Yeah.
So you can go online and check and see if the video is there, the town website.
But we'll figure it out one way or the other.
Send me an email and I'll definitely be back with
All right, if we can't get this established by Tuesday, we'll just allow you to withdraw and resubmit.
That's fine.
Okay.
Just seems like
All right, so we need to move on to Tiny Sad Elves now. Do we have a, we should have a quorum.
I think you do in this case, or I think we do.
Linda, David, Abby.
We are.
Okay, we're back to the handicap ramp.
Okay, so the issues, as I understand it, are the color of the rail, which is that dark, almost black color. The caps on the posts, which have since been cut down. Those, before the last time this was heard, they were still long. They were uncut, so they've been cut down. And the idea, at least in the minutes, it says that the posts are kind of proud. They're in front of the
Face applied to the ramp.
yeah, exactly. So, obviously, we can repaint the rail. That's not a big deal. Caps have been cut down. I don't have any photos of them, but they're there. And regarding those the posts, we're doing landscaping now. One thing that there's going to be a hedge along not Gold Star, but the other one that the really tiny street. Do you know the name of that little road there?
No.
Oh, it's called Milestone. Milestone Road,
Drive.
right?
Once it elbows, it's something else.
Milestone
Gold
Drive.
Star is the one that is the big
around.
one that goes
Yeah.
around, and then there's a little tiny one.
Milestone Lane.
Milestone Lane, exactly. So there's going to be a hedge along that side, privet. But we also plan to do foundation planting in front of that ramp, so at the end of the day, you're not going to see the posts.
Most people are putting balusters on the outside of this routine. I haven't seen one that's exposed metal, I don't care what you shield it with.
Well,
That's all metal.
None of it's metal.
This is all wood.
It's all
I think
wood.
it's now acceptable.
Why was it black before?
Because I was matching the color on my windows.
You're painting the wood
Painting.
black?
Yeah, indigo.
Somehow,
So now it's going to be what?
It'll be gray, just like the rest of it.
I'm not happy with these. I mean, you know how adamant I am about people providing handicap accessible ramps.
now provable.
Normally, we put balusters on the outside of them. We don't have that many exposed. This is what you see on the inside of the balusters, for sure.
Yeah, I'm highly amused by this because you guys approved
Yes.
this kind of handrail at DeMarco's, or what's now the proprietors.
I didn't sit on that, thank you.
Well, I'm speaking to the rest of the board who are out of earshot. They are wildly inappropriate in town.
Absolutely, but I didn't
Wildly
sit on
inappropriate
it.
in town.
There you go.
And for you in the TV audience, don't ever try it again.
So that's why I'm not going here.
Well, just on the score of the balusters, and I'm not saying this to try and make less work for myself, but I really just wanted to minimize the visual weight and impact of the ramp. And, I'd love for it to go away. I would love to just have a rail going up the side of the building, but they
Not
need a
legal.
rail on both sides. That's the code. So this, to my mind, was the least visually intrusive.
Just make a motion, David.
Okay.
I also said that, it's a little unusual with the car lettering in the front, but just could you include that?
Yes, yeah.
So it's part of it.
Yeah, he brought that up. Thank
Ray, is there
you.
any possibility of doing the ramp? This is the ramp to the roadside. Could the ramp go on the left-hand side of the door? That's already been.
No, it's in the,
Yeah,
it's in
it's
the back.
already
It's
there.
got
I
three
know it's in
roads.
the back.
It's got three roads. There's not
Okay.
much you can do.
So my motion is to approve as submitted with
Right.
screening planting in front of the ramp. And to, I'm sorry?
It's proposed.
As ramp, as
As
proposed.
proposed.
Gray.
Yeah, and this approval also includes the signage over the front door facing Old South Road.
The etching over the front door. David's made a motion. Guys, stop. David's made a motion to approve with the ramp being painted gray. The screening is shown on the plan, and the etching over the front door is included in the approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And you'll never see a Botticelli and pole sign there.
We thank you for that, too.
I see
On
500
my-
cars
on
parked
my
there.
word.
If some little concrete tiny sad elves appear on the front door.
Oh, we would love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
All right, guys,
idea.
I got to get going here.
hate the birds.
Yeah, right.
Taylor,
Thanks.
Taylor on Hussey Street.
I don't know.
I know you've got me. That's all you got is me.
Can you look at it and make comments? That can even be done.
Nope. Nope.
You can copyright me.
I think I'm the only one left on that, aren't I?
So.
That's here.
I had 3 on the John that says Leah.
Who was the third one? Abby?
That's 5 hours a minute right
Is
now.
it me, Abby, and...
Between Tuesday and today.
Yeah, well, they don't always think about you guys when they do this. But is
Steve.
it Abby and myself or David and myself?
I think it was Abby.
Okay. And I know
But-
Dawn, I know
and
Dawn was on it.
Dawn was on it.
So
John
come
was
up
on it,
Tuesday,
Abby.
everybody will be back.
Linda, Don, Jason.
Beginning of the meeting?
I'm doing nothing on Tuesday. It's fine.
That's right.
I'll do my 4 kids in nothing. Pardon?
Linda, the first one didn't matter whether you're down or not, or 318 didn't matter. 25 Fuzzy is Linda, Don, John, Jason, and Abby.
So we don't have a quorum for 318
Yeah.
Milestone either?
Correct.
Wow.
You
2
didn't
for
have
2.
one all day for it.
Okay.
Motion to put at the beginning of Tuesday's meeting?
Wall Street, Wall Street, Taylor, and Hadrick all have quorum issues, so all 3 of those, 17,
Yes.
18, and 19 to Tuesday for
Correct.
quorum issues. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's 5 p.m., right?
5 p.m.
At least you get a whole day to work, though.
You mean as opposed to today?
Yeah.
You saved it from all. Look at that. You know,
What? Yeah, but we'll be making money out there.
Matt, let's go.
Guys, thanks a lot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Have a good day.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
How did these get separated?
You can never group them. It's not possible.
You
We
say
should do
often,
that on the agenda.
But they don't, because they're all, some are views, some aren't.
And then they should go back together. This is ridiculous.
It's fine. There's no really way to
At the
control
last
that.
one coming in is when that should go. It's not supposed to come in.
Board.
They should go together, but they
Submit
should
them
come
together.
afterwards.
Stay together.
It doesn't make any sense on the agenda.
You still wouldn't have them together because some are helpful views, some aren't. Some are different tracks.
No, I mean, if they both would help under certain, same circumstances.
Yeah, actually,
I agree that a lot of times people are.
just gives me the opportunity to spend more time with you guys, which is.
Because this isn't the site plan that they should be looking at. They should be looking at the site plan that's in the other file.
The,
Windows and porch.
the rendered plan from Mark, he does hand drawings, so it's tough for us to put into our sets, but the building locations haven't changed.
So what are you doing?
So, can I go?
Joe?
Previous concern, no comments at this time.
This is what we just saw the pool too.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So there's a couple of, the primary change here, oh, let me just start with the basic ones.
We
There's
have
some-
West up first.
Okay, so there's some window changes on, let's see here.
The West is posts. We've got the whole
Okay, so
thing
second
highlighted.
floor, yeah, I'll just talk about, there's a couple of small window changes that I want to talk to you about, and then I can talk about the trim changes. On the west, I'm sorry, on the south,
I have West first.
all right, west elevation, we changed the window type to a 6/6 from the 6/9. On the south elevation, we took those two
Explain why.
That's not it. You're not done with that elevation.
well, the post, I want to, there's two things that are happening here. There's a number of window changes, type changes, and location changes, and then there's a trim request.
Which is what? Because it circles the whole house.
Yeah, no,
What is the trim change?
he wants to go back to
Not
that,
cottage corners, he wants to go back to the.
to the
rake
post, like the paint the post, and that rake with that kind of profile there.
We did not do this house in white.
You did approve it in white, but with
there was a
with
lot
the
less
shingled, with the shingled columns and the shingled rakes. And so, can I just talk about the window changes first, and then we can talk about this, because this is obviously a larger issue. So, the window changes, so David, the reason we went to this 6/6 was the 6/9 is, it was tall, and it was actually, the manufacturer, we wouldn't be able to meet egress, ironically, because of the hardware.
Yep.
And we could do it with the 6/6. So we still have the 6/9s where it counts.
How bizarre.
I know. And they talked about doing a casement, a 6/9 casement.
Casement, half
And I said that
casement,
wasn't going to
half
happen, so
flush.
in a
Okay.
couple of areas, we just went to 6/6s.
Okay.
On the south elevation, those two 9 lights just got shifted further out, primarily to support a headboard. It's a minor change.
I'm sorry.
On the
D
south
windows
elevation.
on the main mass
Those D windows,
in the gable.
Okay.
they got pushed
They
further
pushed
out.
farther
You-
out.
You couldn't, you look at the
You can see it
comparative.
up on the right.
Okay, fine.
No change to the east elevation fenestration. You see the 6/9s are still there.
North,
And then on the north elevation, again, we went to the 6/6s.
and took 2 windows out.
Actually, you know what? That's a drafting error because those were approved as 6/6s. So there is no change. We're calling out those 3 6/6s on the front section. That's wrong. Sorry.
And you took 2 windows out.
And we took 2 windows out. All right, so those are the window
Anybody have any
changes.
trouble with the window changes?
I'm sorry, where did we lose the two?
Right here.
On the living room?
David, see
The one
this?
story.
Yeah, it's better. Okay,
Yeah.
good, yeah.
Anybody have any trouble with the window changes?
No
All right, so let's get down to the brass tacks.
So
Which is, we
basically-
gave you white because there was so little white.
I know.
Now we got white columns, white corner boards,
I
white
could get, no,
everything.
there's no corner boards. This is cottage corners.
We're going to leave the cottage corners.
Keep the cottage corners and just go to the.
White columns.
He likes the rake profile of this, and he likes the columns. He's not opposed to the shingled. I mean, the way that basically that was a compromise, and they're starting to frame out the deck, and he's like, Matt, I'd really, really like to go back and talk to the board about this version, cottage corners with the posts.
This is what irritates, is when we.
I know
give
it
you an
does, and I-
approval
and I-
based on not having that, and now he wants that.
And we're asking, and
I know
that's
you're
why
asking,
we're
you
here.
have to
So,
ask.
and I have to ask because he does feel strongly about it. I would just ask you to consider it, to think about it, and maybe go out to the site. There are a couple of houses out there that are white. I know there's a lot of gray out there.
Not that like this, with a porch post. Porch posts are a big problem for me.
Mhm.
Would
And
you
the
go
other-
back
the-
to the posts being shingles now?
The other,
Column.
well,
He's
I'll tell you what,
already approved
ironically, when we discussed this, because we talked about this in preparation of this meeting, was he would be okay with sticking with the shingled rakes, but then going with the posts.
I'm not going white posts.
Let me ask you, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm okay architecturally with the substitution.
Mm-hmm.
It's the white.
I know.
If we could do this but not in white,
Right.
it's easy for me
Yeah.
to say yes to.
Yep.
I will say that if you go back to the columns with trimmed capitals and a more classical treatment, I think the boxed windows ought to be instead flat casing with a nose and cove across the top, because you're changing period. The boxed windows that you've got here with the little head ornament
Yep.
are 100 years earlier. But that's a simple little detail.
Sure.
And the other simple little detail is that you ought to have some kind of a molding detail on the gabled dormers on the east elevation. It shouldn't
Again,
just be flat.
That's actually, I noticed that. That's
Yeah.
That's a drafting error. That should be the same profile.
But
So it's color.
With those two tiny changes, I think, and a color other than white, I think it'd be easy to say yes to all of it. For me.
I think that's where we were throughout the approval process. Was the white was the sticking point, and we've had this conversation. It's challenging for these. It's challenging to explain, and it is even for me too. I know what the board's position is.
Now, let me reference for you and for the client. We approved a big house in a somewhat similar style on Low Beach Road that NAG did a couple of years back.
I'm familiar with that.
And they went with a dark green, and it looks appropriate to the style. And this is quite similar, although theirs is a double gable. It's the same architectural period.
Right.
And it's the same standard that we're applying here, just so that he knows that we're trying to associate like with like.
But we have 16 to 18, I can't quite figure out changing elevations. We have at least 16, more than likely 18 white columns that surround the entire structure. It's not going to happen. So what do you want to do? Wait and ask him for something else?
I'll talk to him. I feel we're back up in a week and a half, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
A week and a half.
So no problem with the window changes. So it's just the color. We knew that we were.
I'm not.
He feels strongly about it. What about?
I'm not budging off the
cream.
Nope.
You couldn't go with a tan, Linda? I could go with a tan.
I could go with a cobblestone. I could go with Quaker gray.
Let me talk to him about alternatives for
I
colors.
can't go with a tan.
Okay.
That's going to look bizarre. 18, if you didn't have 18 columns, David, if you had only accent columns, it's one thing. 18 columns around the entire structure.
I'm hearing you.
So it's no lighter than Quaker gray.
What about the
cobblestone? I think would be fine.
What about, just so I can present options, if we went back to the shingled columns and left the rakes with this detail? I don't even know if he'd be interested in that, but
Design, I think.
I could probably live with the white rakes, David, but not the columns.
At that point, you've got a long, what I find
Oh,
funny
yeah,
about
never
this-
mind. I got it.
Yeah.
You're going to have long horizontal white bands,
You got,
and that's going to look ridiculous, that don't attach to anything but themselves if we went with white rakes and trim. Because then you got all this other natural stuff, and all of a sudden you got all these massive horizontal white bands going around it, and that's not going to look good because it's going to look like a white trim band at that point.
All right.
So that's not working either.
I'll talk to him about options.
It has to be attached to something.
I know where you guys stand. So.
Okay, thank you,
You
Matt.
making a motion to hold for revisions?
So moved.
David's made it. There's our continuation there. He made a motion to hold for revisions. All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
That letter.
You're not done. Get the letter.
Actually, I forwarded it to.
Then you better make sure he has it. Go get it.
I don't actually have it.
Always bring a copy.
We emailed a Word document.
That doesn't mean you printed it.
Huh?
Doesn't mean you printed it. Go find out if he has a hard copy. Oh, you want your board back too, don't you? That's pretty hard to fold and put in the file.
It's a nice rendering.
They do nice. That guy in the office that does that to me does a really good job.
Those actually, what we did with that one in particular is we actually took a photograph of a shingle, a weathered shingle. He's like, how much do you want these shingles weathered? So we went and took a photograph of one and he matched it exactly. It's pretty
Well, I had it, I was here Tuesday night. I don't see it.
What's it cost to get a rendering like that done?
That one, believe it or not,
Oh, is he paying his
we
sleeves?
did two versions. One with shingled,
Yeah,
Yep.
$5,000.
yeah.
Wow. Who
It's a little
does
steep.
it?
That one we had a guy out, I think he's in Michigan. We have another guy up in New Hampshire that we use. We chose him because he can do a pretty hyper-realistic. We wanted to present the most accurate, realistic, version of what it would look like.
When I was working, we had a guy in England
Jamie,
who did watercolor.
What was the date?
Yeah.
End date?
Big thing.
What's the end date?
Hyper-realistic.
Really?
March 15th.
Yeah.
Cheap.
That was honestly.
Pricing may have changed.
It's a little steep because we got a total of 4 images total. 4 to 5 images total.
You need to re-sign it up
Remind
for
me, and I'll give you his
Oh, next
name
to old
and his-
business.
Yeah, yeah, next one.
And what was great
But
too
you gotta
was
sign it up, forward to
he would do
James.
the basic rendering,
By
would
Wednesday.
photograph it, and then he would swap
Okay.
materials and colors in and out.
Yeah.
Next week is old
He
business, honey.
didn't, redo the whole thing.
Right.
His Photoshop skills,
Gotcha.
quite amazing.
These guys switched around. There's another guy we use in New Hampshire that's really good. I actually like the SketchUp models because they're more flexible, and then they'll send us the CAD. They'll actually send us the model, and then I can select the image I want.
Yeah.
With these hyper-realistic ones, it's kind of a pain because you don't have I can't. I'll tell them what angle I want, but in SketchUp I can get exactly the right one I want.
Cool.
Don't have the.
We don't have the letter.
We emailed a Word doc.
Can you read it to us?
Yeah. My God.
This is for which one, Broad Street?
Yeah, Broad Street.
Okay.
21 Broad Street for tax credit.
So basically what it is we are requesting,
So we are in the second phase, and it looks like we're actually going to get the tax credit because we've gone through phase 1, phase 2, and they are the only thing they need for us. We've given them a lot of information. There's been a lot of back and forth. One of the final things they want to verify that you guys are comfortable with the design. And I just don't know if they know the rigorous process that we go through here. They just want to verify that you guys are happy with the design and the addition and the form it's in. Because if you guys are okay with it, they're okay with it.
Well, if we passed a very simple resolution affirming that it meets the rigorous standards of the Nantucket Historic District Commission, would that
Yeah.
do it for you?
Yeah, this is the letter. It's basically says, to whom it may concern, the Nantucket Historic District Commission reviewed the submitted plans for the addition and renovation for 21 Broad Street and have approved the current plans as submitted. The process was a lengthy and thorough review of the addition details and massing. We are in support of this project as a historic renovation and addition, including all exterior architectural details. Please feel free to contact the board with any questions or comments.
I think David's phrase needs to be added to that letter, and meets the rigorous standards of the HDC, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think you ought to add the certificate of appropriateness.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
key right there.
And to make it more persuasive, you could say that it has been revised to meet the rigorous standards, which would indicate that there's been an interactive process and
Right.
you responded to us.
Right. So put that in there. Do you want me to sign it?
I move that the commission today authorize Linda Williams, acting as chair, to sign the letter as to be revised with regard to the tax credit for 21 Broad Street.
Okay, all those in favor of David's motion?
Aye.
Okay,
All righty. Thank you.
there you go.
Be good. It's looking good.
Get it to me.
I think that since we lost John, it makes sense to defer the discussion of 17 Broad Street until you have more members.
Yeah,
John,
also.
John, everybody.
My suggestion too would be, because we've had, so we presented you the preliminary option, the previous one, plus the moving, and so we have another revised version, which I'll have completed by tomorrow, so you'll be able to see the most up-to-date set. And then just FYI, we are planning to make a formal submission to the HDC, I believe the next available deadline, but this will still be a good way to get a preview of what we're going to be submitting.
How come I have two down here? Matt, is one of these yours?
In my, I just,
One of mine.
there
Your
you
name
go.
isn't
Okay.
on it.
Doesn't matter.
Did you have?
Sorry, I have one of my.
Yeah, I thought your name had. Did you have the thing still on there?
Yeah, no, that one disappeared and this one appeared.
No, this is the only one I brought.
This is the
was
one I
mine.
brought with
Are
me
we
today.
going over the head of the plans?
No,
Yeah,
that's
people
next
here
week.
got it.
That's next week.
Is there anything else?
Scan them up.
No, go ahead and make the
No,
motion.
you're not going to.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
That was we gave you the information Tuesday night.
Abby's made the motion to adjourn at 3:16. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yay. Okey-dokey.
Please didn't get updated.
Right.
Okey-dokey. Cool as kind. Everybody's here Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.